This is a brief tutorial on the setup process for Eniture Technology's real-time shipping quotes app for Shopify. At the conclusion of the tutorial will be a brief demonstration of shipping quotes being presented on the Shopify checkout page. This video will touch on the most basic steps required to have shipping quotes presented during checkout. It is not a substitute for the user's guide, which is located on the documentation tab of the product information page at eniture.com. Refer to the user's guide to take full advantage of the app's extensive capabilities. Begin by installing the app to your store. Click on Settings, choose Apps and Sales Channels, and click on the Shopify App Store button. Search for the DIY Real-Time Shipping Quotes app and click the Install button to install it to your store. Follow the steps in the installation wizard to install the app to your store. Next, add the app to the Shopify shipping zone. Use the Shopify admin menu to navigate to Settings and Shipping and Delivery. Access the general profile or any custom shipping profile to which you want to add the app. Scroll to the shipping zones, click the Add Rate button, and choose the option for Use Carrier or App to calculate rates. Choose the app from the drop-down list. Make sure all of the checkboxes on this page are enabled before clicking Done. Then save your settings and exit to the Shopify admin menu. Click on Apps using the Shopify admin menu. Locate the app and click on its name. Click on Plans in the app's navigation menu. All the plans have the same feature set. The difference between them is the number of carrier integrations that can be enabled. Choose the plan that best meets your needs. Next, select Providers in the navigation menu. Click the Add Provider button. Locate the shipping provider you want to connect to and click its Add Account button. Enter a nickname for the connection and the API credentials. These will differ for each provider. Consult the user's guide for instructions on how to obtain API credentials for the provider you're connecting to. Afterward, save the settings, and then test the connection. If you don't see an alert informing you that the test was successful, then the app is not connected to your account. You'll need to resolve this before continuing. For the purpose of this tutorial, I'll enable an LTL freight provider, a 3PL for LTL freight service, and a parcel provider. Now that the three shipping provider integrations have been enabled, click on Warehouses in the navigation menu. The app supports two types of shipping origins, warehouses and dropship locations. For the purposes of this tutorial, I will add a warehouse. Enter a nickname for the warehouse and provide the postal code. The city and state should populate, and if there are options, select the correct one from the drop-down. Scroll to the bottom of the page and click Save Settings. Next, in the navigation menu, click the option for Address Type Settings. I will enable the option to automatically detect residential addresses and default unconfirmed address types to residential. Now, in the app's navigation menu, skip to the list of enabled providers. Each provider has its own settings. I'll enable some basic settings for each of the enabled providers, starting with the one for LTL Freight. The Quote Settings page for each provider contains the settings that govern its behavior. There are a lot of settings, and you'll want to spend some time on this page with the user's guide in hand when you choose your own selections. For the purpose of this tutorial, I'm going to keep it very simple. To help distinguish the results for this integration from others for LTL Freight, I'm going to give it a unique label. Next, I'll scroll down to the liftgate settings and I'll enable the option to offer liftgate delivery as an option. I'm also going to enter a weight threshold for LTL Freight of 70 pounds. Why will become evident later in the tutorial. Now click Save Settings. Next, I'll access the settings for the 3PLs. 3PLs have an additional page for carriers. I'll enable all of them and then access the Quote Settings page. Here, I'll choose a rating method of cheapest options and select 2 for the number of options. Again, I'll scroll down to Liftgate Settings and enable Offer Liftgate Delivery as an option. Scroll to the bottom and click Save Settings. Now let's enable the settings for the parcel provider. Here I'll enable just a few of the services that the parcel provider has to offer. Scroll down to the bottom of the page and click Save Settings. Now it's time to populate the shipping parameters. Use the Shopify admin menu to navigate to Products. Choose an item from the catalog that will require quotes for LTL Freight. Use the More Actions button to choose the app and navigate to the page the app uses to collect the product shipping parameters. Enable the checkbox for quote as an LTL shipment. Enter a weight and a freight class for the product. Scroll to the bottom of the page and click the Save and Return button. Now the app is capable of returning a freight quote for this product. Click the View button at the top of the page. Add the product to the cart and enter the checkout process. After entering a valid ship-to address, you'll see LTL freight quotes from both the LTL freight provider and the 3PL. Here you can see the unique label that I entered for the LTL freight provider. The other options are coming from the 3PL. There are options here for standard LTL freight and then also LTL freight with liftgate delivery. This is because we enable that option in both of the apps. Now let's perform a test for a parcel checkout. Use the Shopify admin menu to return to products. This time, select a product that would ship parcel if it's the only thing in the cart. Click the More Actions button and select the app from the list. Enable the checkbox for quotas of parcel shipment. Enter a weight and dimensions for the product. If this product could be included in an LTL freight shipment given the contents of the cart, it's a good idea to also enter a freight class. Scroll to the bottom of the page and click the Save and Return button. Now let's run a test for parcel quotes. Click the View button, add the product to the cart, and enter the checkout process. This time, we'll see options for partial shipping for the services that we enabled in the app. Now let's see what happens if you have a quantity of this product in the cart that reaches the threshold for LTL freight, which we set for 70 pounds, and the integration for the LTL freight provider. Returning to the cart page, I'm going to add additional units of the product to get us over the 70-pound threshold. Now I'll return to the checkout page. This time, not only do we have options for parcel service, but we also have options from the LTL freight provider integration for standard LTL service and LTL service with liftgate delivery. We see the options from the LTL freight provider because we set the weight threshold for LTL freight to 70 pounds. The integration for the 3PL was not set at 70 pounds and therefore it isn't displaying rates in this case. This concludes the basic setup tutorial and a demonstration of shipping rates displayed on the Shopify checkout page. Install the app and use the user's guide to implement it on your store.